including myself. At about the same time, Cheney Park area became available for sale, which is also when the boardwalk was in its initial phases. The concept was just being proposed. I think it's important to note that our association persuaded the town to buy the land to coincide with the boardwalk planning and lease us the dockage where a few of our members already were tied up. I was fishing full-time by then, and the town let me build my own dock where I am today. I put 2 piles in, I went to the lumber mill up here in Old Lyme, and I built my dock, and I've been there ever since. Some years later, we were able to get a state grant awarded to rebuild the docks that were there. A lot of them were in pretty rough shape. Unfortunately, much of the money was used up in the planning. Instead of one long dock connecting myself with the Blackhawk dock, they just replaced what was there, so we ended up with 4 separate docks. It was supposed to be one long dock. Our original intent was actually to build finger piers off the old bridge span where the kayak dock is today, all the way out to the end with a long dock on the end and floating docks inside the lagoon. Due to the lobster die-off, though, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, our association membership declined greatly. The need for more docks wasn't as strong, so we didn't keep pursuing those docks. I personally got out of lobstering and more into fishing. I bought another boat, a larger boat, and permit, which I turned into an offshore monkfish gill netter for fishing during the winter months. I still kept my inshore boat that I fished in the summer. I had 2 boats. I kept one on a mooring, one on a dock, and I used my little skiff to get out to vice versa and switch boats. I did much of the work on the boat when I was building it in Niantic at the dock there, and I was encouraged to unload fish there. However, the trucking and shipping, for those reasons, we did a lot of the offloading at Captain Scott's in New London, but I always kept Niantic as home base. I did much of the gear work there, the network, and trying to keep the docks as active as possible. Over the years, I've run other monkfish boats for people, and I would occasionally bring them into Niantic to do gear work there as well. The latest, a couple years ago, Mike Beebe let me tie up in the wintertime. We were redoing the hydraulics on a boat, and we stayed there for a month or 2, and then we set up in New London and for the fishing season. And I've always kept my, like I say, my small little green fishing boat there or on the mooring. And now fishing for a living has always been extremely difficult in many different ways. Over-regulations hit me pretty hard on the amount of days we could fish, the amount we could catch, to the extent I got out of the offshore monk fishing, and my wife and I decided to purchase an old wooden charter boat, which we named the Tartan II after my father's charter boat, which sailed out of Niantic back in the 1970s. We almost named the boat the Niantic. That's how much I love this town. Traditionally, chartering and commercial fishing have always gone hand in hand. Captain Greg will tell you that. He's been a commercial fisherman as well as a charter fisherman, and he's seen it all. I started working on the local charter boats when I was 12, which is how I was able to buy my first lobster boat so young. The real value of this particular boat to me was that it's fairly small as far as party boats go, but we have a Coast Guard certificate to carry more than 6 passengers, which is pretty valuable, even though the boat needed a lot of work. We've been working on it since I got it 5 years ago. While the odds were against us, we pulled it off. After 5 years, I can say we have built a successful charter party business. However, we could not have done it without the use of this dock. The harbor of Niantic has become a fishing destination. Myself, Greg, the JB Company, the MyJoy, the Sunbeam, we all spent a lot of money on advertising to bring a lot of people into the town. And a lot of our customers stop down to the dock and they say, yeah, we wanted to come down and spend the day in town. We realized what a nice town this is, and they bring their families here. They go to the beaches, they go to the restaurants. So they spend their money in town, We sail almost 7 days a week from Memorial Day to Veterans Day. We've always tried to keep the docks as community-oriented as possible. We sell fish there, we teach people about fishing, constantly answering questions from people walking by. All of us have let other fishermen in the area use our docks to unload their traps, their bait, etc. A couple of local guys, recently the Meek brothers were trying to get going fishing. Both Greg and I let them tie up at our docks for a little while they were getting their boat ready. They ended up setting up in New London, then off to Gloucester they went. That's exactly what a town fishing dock is supposed to to do is to support small fishing businesses. If you've ever stopped at any other fishing docks from Stonington to Point Judith, there's constantly boats tied 2 to 3 deep doing all sorts of repairs. We just have a very smaller version of that, but that's what the idea was, building this dock. This dock has been a huge asset to my business and my family. My wife, Beth, and my 3 young children are all very much involved in our business, from painting to bookkeeping and everything else involved in running a small business. We also employed 2 Niantic High School kids this year, as well as another Niantic man now that's working with us, mating on the boat. We all work together very well down there at the dock. We're all friendly. The main point is I'm using the docks for their original intent. However, after the lobster collapse, some of the guys were forced to find new work, and a couple of boats weren't being used as much. One in particular, however, that boat has just been bought by Matt DeBratz, who is here tonight, and he's trying to make a go of it fishing. I know he would love to stay there, and I know there's other people that would like to come in. So it's not the action, but rather the inaction at the docks that have a few people questioning a few things. Starting another association has been discussed by some of us, and there is some new blood around. Timmy the oyster farmer has had some very good ideas. Originally, a cooperative was part of the vision. There once was a fish market and a boat rental place down there. Don't forget now, the original grant was awarded to build those docks because we were there, because low-income businesses were there. And we could apply for another grant every year like Stonington does. It doesn't always go through, but sometimes it does, and they constantly fix up their docks and extend their docks. And we could actually finish off the dock and make one long dock like we originally planned, so many years ago. And there's also where Craig Engelman tied up. That's been vacant. So there is some room, there is some room down there. Stonington applies every year. Like I say, they're upgrading the docks right now. I know my boat has to move for the bridge work planned ahead. Ideally, I hope we can all just move over a spot, or we'll see how the leases come out here. But my business does depend on this dock completely. I didn't even buy the boat until I talked to Paul Formica, then first selectman, about operating out of there. And switching to charter. I still commercial fish also, I do both, but we're doing more and more chartering. It really took off, it's been a great place to start a business, this town. I can't stress enough how important docking there is to my family's business. Without it, I would literally be out of business. And all the work we started so many years ago will have been wasted. I'm the last original member of the Niantic Bay Commercial Fishermen's Association that still fishes out of there for a living. I do all the weed whacking, the litter pickup in my area. When the wall collapsed, I fixed it. I never complain about everything. We don't have water or power there either. I bring in my own water. I run a generator for power. A working waterfront is the true character of Niantic. It always has been. The very first house on Main Street was built by a fisherman. And there are many people here that appreciate what we have down there. So just hope we can continue. I do desperately need to. Thank you very much.
Hey, Mike, thank you. That's cool.
Good job.
Yeah, for not a public speaker, you did a great job. Could Sandy have that? Could you turn that the thing you read from into us?
Yes.
Because we can attach it to the record, and I'm sure she didn't get every word that you said there, but you did a good job. And thanks for the history, because maybe only one of us was here at the time. For the record, and again, we don't dialogue here. Okay, we hear you, and that's all. But I'm gonna throw it out there because Greg, you might not know this. My grandfather was a Gloucester fisherman. Ernest living that way. That's how my family grew up. Out more than in, and the whole bit. And actually died at sea, and he's on the memorial in Gloucester. So I mean, we're talking fishing family. Would anyone else like to speak to the Board of Selectmen this evening? Greg, I've never known you to be quiet. Are you gonna stay there tonight?
Mike said it all.
Okay, yeah, he did, and I appreciate the solidarity and the support there. We get the messages received. There you go. Greg, come on up. You got to give your address. See, I knew this was going to happen.
Greg DeBrule, Blackhawk, Niantic, Connecticut. I'm bringing the boat over to Noank, the Blackhawk, so the Blackhawk dock's going to be available if somebody wants to tie up there. For at least a couple of months anyhow.
I see. Okay.
So we're cod fishing at Block Island, and it's just easier I have to buy a slip over there, but it's easier to get over there. But I would assume I'm gonna be there probably a couple, 3 months.
Okay,
That's all.
thank you. That only complicates things, thank you. I didn't even want to know that. Anyone else? Mr. Mike, now or later? Anything? Okay. Hearing no other public delegations, we'll move on to approval of the minutes of the regular meeting, October 17th, 2018.
Move to approve the regular meeting minutes of October 17th, 2018 as submitted.
Second.
Any comments, corrections? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Is there a consent calendar?
Abstain.
Okay, and one abstention, sorry. Thank you, gents, and ma'am.
Okay, for consent, I move to approve the consent calendar for the meeting of November 7, 2018 in the amount of $12,964.44.
Second.
The motion has been seconded. Any further comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, we'll move on our agenda. We have a short executive session coming up. We'll move into my office with a motion to move into executive session for the purposes of labor issues.
Move into executive session for the purpose of discussing labor issues.
Second.
It's been seconded. Anna, we decided we didn't need you, right? Right. So that's it. It would just be the board
All
of
those in favor?
selectmen. Right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. For the remaining, we'll be right back.